G'day mates, in today's video we're going to kick off talking about the massive update Epic just announced today, only 3 days out from FNCS, where we pretty much have all cars being vaulted from competitive. There is now no longer fire, and we have the heavy sniper being unvaulted in competitive. Also, we had ZLeague and Rematch GG, two of the biggest tournament organizers in Fortnite, shut down today, and a lot of people confused as to why, and I think I figured out the reason, and it's not public. So there's a lot to talk about. Let's just jump into it. Let's just start off with the big announcement from Fortnite and break it down. So we're removing most vehicles and fire from all tournament playlists to improve server performance. I'll talk about what's going on with the moved cash cups in a second, but let's talk about this update. This is one of the biggest updates we have had in a long time. It is going to massively affect competitive, and it's happening only like 4 days out from FNCS starting. So what does most vehicles mean? We actually got clarity on what this means through the closed comp Discord, but the players in there were allowed to share the information directly from Epic. All vehicles that are not IO cars, not IO trucks, just IO cars are now vaulted from tournaments. So that means Lambos, that means the big semi trucks, that means the pickup trucks, all of them. Taxis, they're all gone. If it's not an IO car, it is not in tournaments anymore. So I'm going to bring up a little image here that someone put on Twitter showing where all the IO cars currently are. As you can see, they're heavily focused on the west side of the map, especially around Covert and Tilted. Any other vehicle will no longer be in tournaments. And then fire, obviously. Let's start with fire, because that's an easy one for me to cover. I'm not a huge fan of fire. I get it as a mechanic. It's kind of cool. It creates some interesting engagements. You can use it smartly, but for the most part, since it's coming out, or at least since it got buffed in that fire week and then never went away, it's just been too unpredictable. Sometimes you're on metal and you're on fire, sometimes you're on brick, sometimes you're in wood and the fire spreads, and it's just all a little bit messy, and I can see why this would be causing huge issues for server performance. So that one makes sense. I don't think anyone is arguing about the fire or too upset about the fire. So let's go back to removing most vehicles. My stance on this is, I like vehicles. I like vehicles for early and mid-game rotation. I've made plenty of videos talking about how you can fix the vehicles in endgame. Just don't let them break vehicles, break through builds without a lot of momentum. As they break builds, they take damage. Just not letting them break builds at all. There's a lot of ways that you could fix the endgame issues and still keep them in the game. But if Epic is telling us that the reason why the servers are so laggy is because of vehicles and fire, then they have to go. It's just that simple. I'm sad to see it because I like the vehicles. I think they're good for the game. They allow for smart rotations in early and mid game. But if Epic tells us that's what's causing the lag, then they have to go. Because the video I made yesterday, in case you missed it, I showed a few clips that just cannot be in competitive Fortnite. You can't have an FNCS or a major tournament and players dying because on their screen they've built a wall and on the enemy screen there is no wall. Or players teleporting through the ground and going through builds and getting away from people. You just can't have that. So I would like to live in a world where we can have vehicles and the servers can perform well, and I think Epic can do that. But this close to FNCS, if it's a way of fixing how terrible the tournaments were, how terrible the servers are, is getting rid of cars and fire, then it has to happen. You could create the most perfect meta with the best weapons, the best map ever, but if the servers are like they have been the last few tournaments and people are dying to glitches, then it's just not fair. So that's my stance on it. I'm sad to see the vehicles go, but at the same time, a lot of people are really happy to see the vehicles go. There are some drop spots that are going to be heavily nerfed by this. The one that comes to mind is Booga and Miro at Chonkers. If you guys haven't seen how Booga and Miro play Chonkers, they always get a Chonker tire Lambo. They do it every game. They rotate late. They get all the loot. They even sit in storm sometimes to get all the coolers. Then they get in, they take an early fight, they get their surge and they rotate. They're not going to be able to do that now. There is not a single vehicle in Chonker or anywhere near it. The Speedway has no vehicles. So I really believe that once they took out all the vehicles, I think they had to just take them all out. Like once they took everything but the IO cars, I feel like they should also take the IO cars. And this one, I do want to get your opinion in the comments. Once there's no vehicles, I feel like leaving some of them in the game just further buffs some drop spots over others. Covert is already way too strong as a drop spot. Same with Tilton, a few of these areas. They're now even stronger. If cars are causing issues in the game and you're taking some of them out before a tournament, take them all out, because now these drop spots that people have locked down for weeks, if not seasons, are now even stronger. There's not a lot of time for pros to readjust their drop spot or readjust their rotations. So if everyone's in the boat of having vehicles taken away from them, I think that's a lot more fair. But that one I'm not 100% sure on. Now, I will clarify as well, this is tournament playlist. This is not arena, only in tournaments. If you play arena, all these vehicles are still in. And this is actually a very cool change. Seeing seeing Epic further change things from arena and tournaments and making arena its own game mode with a specific loot pool makes me very happy. I've talked about this in the past. I think arena should have some fun, wacky, crazy things in it that don't happen in tournaments, but obviously not as crazy and wacky as pubs. I like that. I think arena should be fun. We've talked about how it's not competitive, it's not a proper ranked game mode, so make it fun. The one issue we've always had, and this update is going to cause a huge issue for this, is scrims. For scrims to run, for customs to run, you have to run them on the arena playlist. So too many changes you make to arena that then aren't in tournaments will affect scrims, and this is one of them. So basically, I feel like a lot of people when running scrims now are just going to have to say no vehicles. There's no vehicles in scrims because they're not in tournaments. So if you're going to practice for a tournament, you're not allowed to use vehicles. But it's going to be interesting to see how this affects the game. A lot of people very happy, a lot of people very upset. It's definitely going to save all those issues of cars going crazy at endgame and semi-trucks just mowing through the whole endgame. After yesterday's tournament with the blowtorch being gone, there was almost no cars endgame. I watched 3 regions Cash Cup finals, that's 18 games, and I saw maybe a handful of cars making it past half-half, like literally next to none. There was less than 1 a game. So they kind of already fixed that. So maybe Epic will be able to do something to fix the server so they can have vehicles and not lag, but at this point, vehicles are gone. Now, let's move on to the second part of this tweet, but I'm not going to read it directly off the tweet because after making this tweet, Epic made a new tweet. So all you need to know is that Epic has now made it where yesterday's cash cups that happened, they still exist. The prize pools are still being given out. All the players still get whatever rewards they got from this, whether it be PR, the leaderboards are there, but they're now adding a new tournament to be replayed with all the players who qualify for that tournament for every region. This is really cool because normally when Epic has had issues in the past like this and they void a tournament, they get rid of the prize pool for anyone who won it, and it's always really unfair to look at. But this has been great. They're just adding a new tournament, and this is going to be a really good chance to see how this affects the meta right before FNCS. So I'll be doing a viewing party on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Aussie Antics, for EU and NA East today as of this video going live. So if you want to come and have a chat with me about how crazy all this is after watching this video, swing by and let me know your thoughts. And it's good to see that Epic is now adding a tournament rather than voiding and taking away the old one. It's also good because now we get another chance to see how the meta is going to look coming into FNCS. It's unfortunate for teams who didn't qualify, like Booga and Miro, who now aren't going to have a chance to test out this big change to the meta right before FNCS. But honestly, I feel like most people are in the same boat. I would rather them make a big change like this to make sure that FNCS doesn't have these crazy server lags. Yes, it would be awesome to have these things ironed out before we get to FNCS, but with the situation we have right now, I feel like Epic has handled this really well. Another big change that not a lot of people are talking about because it's been overshadowed by this crazy vehicle update and all these new tournaments is the fact that the epic purple heavy sniper will now spawn in supply drops again in competitive. I don't know if this was deliberate. I mean, the players tweeting about it seem to have gotten it from the back-end system, and I don't think that's something that Epic could accidentally turn on, but as of right now, the heavy sniper is in competitive. You only get it from the supply drop, and some people are upset about this, some people are excited about this. My take on it is I always thought the heavy sniper was going to go into competitive. Once it didn't do one-shot headshots, it just made sense that they were gearing it towards competitive, because I feel like most casuals, if you're going to have a sniper, they want a one-shot headshot with it. Otherwise, it's just not fun to use. The main thing about the heavy sniper is going to be not the damage to the headshot, because obviously it doesn't do one-shot headshot. It's going to be taking walls. And yes, especially with pre-edits, heavy sniping, throwing down a pre-edit on 0 ping is a very easy way to jump in on a team. But ultimately, especially because it's only out of airdrops, I just don't think the heavy sniper is going to be that big of an issue. Maybe I'm going to be wrong, but when you've got the drum shotgun right now just running through people, melting them, both the SMGs, the burst rifles are shredding people, I just, in the grand scheme of things, I don't think the heavy sniper is going to be that big of an issue. I feel like there's plenty of other things in the meta that a lot of people would rather have changed than have the heavy sniper taken back out, but I thought I'd include it in my video. If you find a heavy sniper in arena or in tournaments, that's why. Maybe it ups the value of airdrops if you really want a heavy sniper, but without them doing one-shot headshots, I don't think it'll have as big of an impact as what a lot of people think. Yes, there'll be some cool kills where people heavy snipe and jump in or do pre-edits, but I don't think it's going to be that crazy. While on the topic of big changes to competitive, one that has gone very underlooked is if you look at the Trello board, which is basically the website where Epic lists all the known bugs in the game and the ones they're working on and when they're going to be fixed, there is one very important one that sticks out, and it is the vaults at 7 outposts do not open, and it's going to be fixed in the next game update. So that means all the vaults around the map that have a lot of loot in them that haven't been able to be opened since this season started are going to be fixed, and now they're going to be open. This is going to add so much loot to the map and so many different different drop spots coming into FNCS. This is a big update that a lot of people should keep their eyes on, because if you're looking for a drop spot right now there's uncontested, knowing that these are about to open when other people don't will give you a really good drop spot, especially the fact that most of these are near the rifts, so we have a very good rotation as well. And I like this because as they're taking loot off the map with the blimps, even though we have so much loot right now, adding a bit more loot to the game, or at least having these split drops that aren't super powerful peer wise but could be really good for shambles drops, I think it's great. But I don't think anywhere near enough people are talking about it. So if you want a cheeky safe drop for solos or duos for competitive after the next update, make sure you guys check the vaults. Moving on to some weird pieces of news, we have ZLeague and Rematch.gg, two of the biggest independent, separate from Fortnite tournament organizers, shutting down. And the reason I say weird is because both of them have not made a public statement, but where they have made their statements, one of which in a Discord, which I guess you could say is public, but they didn't make it on any of their channels like Twitter, and the other one being a response from ZLeague support in an email, they both quote the identical reason for shutting down. They both say, we've made the decision to discontinue support for Fortnite on ZLeague, and the other one says Rematch. Over the last year, we learned that we cannot provide a product to the Fortnite community that lives up to the high standards we hold ourselves to, in addition to other games we currently support. They both say the exact same thing. Are they owned by the same company? Do they use the same support? Why is the wording identical? And I have a theory for this, and I think it's because they've both technically been shut down or told to cease operations from Fortnite. And maybe they just didn't want to make that public. Maybe they were trying to keep that information behind closed doors. I don't know. But it seems way too weird that both of their responses are identical, and both of them, despite having a huge role in the community, have not made public statements on their Twitter. And it just goes in line with a lot of stuff that people know about Epic. Epic do not like making running tournaments easy, especially on Fortnite, and especially collaborating with other companies. Rematch GG also have a history of running wages, which Epic has cut down on. Wages are no longer allowed. That is where Rematch originally got its start. They moved on to running tournaments because those were within Epic's terms of service, but the fact that both of these have shut down on the exact same day and both quote the same reason makes me think there's something more to this story, and potentially Epic is trying to cut down on third-party companies running tournaments. They have been very, very strict on their rules on who can run tournaments and how they can run them in the past when it's featuring Fortnite, and this would just be another step in that line. So don't know why this has happened. It's a bit sad to see because a lot of you guys loved playing in Rematch GG and ZLeague's tournaments. They were a good way for players to play in, you know, smaller tournaments for money and still get some practice without playing in the big tournaments, and it's just another thing that's gonna, I don't know, Fortnite seems to have an issue collaborating with other big companies and other things like orgs that can help build their ecosystem. Like you look at Counter-Strike, right? Counter-Strike's tournaments, the majority of them aren't even run by Counter-Strike themselves. They're third-party companies who put on awesome tournaments that then help grow Counter-Strike. Fortnite just seems to have a very big control issue, and maybe that isn't what happened here. Maybe I'm just going too deep into nothing. It just seems way too coincidental. They both shut down on the exact same day and both quote the exact same reason that ultimately doesn't really make much sense either. All right, guys, that does it for another video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please chuck a like on it, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next one.